College is literally drugs. Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Sam Cecina.
I just graduated from the University of Missouri in May.
And I go to community college at St. Louis Community College.
But today we're going to talk about the differences between university, community college, and commuter schools. Like, as I transferred to the University of Missouri from UMSL, which is a community university in St. Louis. So, we have a list of a couple of topics that we want to talk about, so let's get started.
So they have several different types of, they all are you can get certificates there, you can get associate's degrees, but you can get several associate's degrees that focus in on a certain thing, though they're just an associate's degree, similar to a bachelor's degree, but that bachelor's degree goes way in more depth of what you're actually going to be studying.
So at the University of Missouri and UMSL, they both do four-year degrees, master's degrees, and there's doctorates. The doctorates available at UMSL are far less numerous than at Mizzou because Mizzou is like the primary research institution. So, for example, like we have journalism, business, agriculture, biology, and stuff like that, and they're like those are like pretty mirror of each other for what's available at the commuter university and at like the four-year traditional college town university. So, UMSL, the University of Missouri St. Louis, which is a typical commuter university, is located in St. Louis. It's located like right off the highway. It's pretty easily accessible to any person who wants to commute there. The University of Missouri is located in Columbia, Missouri. It's a typical college town, about 115,000 people. The whole town's like located around the university, so the college just like feeds into downtown. It's like one street difference between downtown where like the clubs and restaurants are versus like where the main academic like quad is.
So at SDLCC they have several locations. They have like technical buildings, like skill development buildings, like if you're trying to become a mechanic or stuff like that. And they also have 4 different campuses that are like full-fledged campuses that have all your classes, science, history, and going into the business and humanities, stuff like that. So they have locations all around the St. Louis County, one in North County, one in Forest Park, one in more Southern County, and one out in West County in Wildwood. So they have locations everywhere, and they vary in size and how much space and how much campus size they have. Like the Merrimack campus is the biggest campus, ranging in sizes down from there.
The next one that I'm going to talk about is cost, and this is probably the biggest aspect when people are deciding whether to go to a university or a community college.
So at community college, it's the cheapest. It's at St. Louis Community College. It's just over $100 per credit hour. If you live in districts, i.e., you live in St. Louis County. If you live out of the county, like in St. Charles County, Washington County, stuff like that, it's going to go up a little bit from there. Then all the way up until if you live out of state, which does happen. Commuters from Illinois come over a lot, and then it goes up from there if you're international, as it does for most colleges. So it's very affordable, and it's usually right in your home.
I would say that the two biggest factors when it comes to university and college is about the two factors for cost are tuition and housing and living expenses. So for a community campus, it's typical that you drive, so that would affect your cost of attending that university. It's a lot more expensive than community college. For example, when we talk about like money between the two, to 1 credit hour at a university is more expensive than an entire 3 credit hour class at a community college. So that's a huge factor when considering which school to attend. A commuter university, you don't have to pay for housing usually that like on campus, so you'll find an off-campus apartment, or a lot of times people might live with their parents while attending a community university, and that's what I did when I attended UMSL for a year. But then when you go to the University of Missouri, almost everyone their first year lives in the residence halls or dorms. So that is where a lot of costs come into, because typically, at least at the University of Missouri, those were about $5,000 a semester. Depending on which school you attend, it might vary. But and then you also have tuition on top of that. For the University of Missouri and UMSL, since they're sister schools, they both were about $380 per credit hour. So that depends on which university you attend, but that is what was the standard at those schools. And then, but also a key thing that a lot of universities sneak up on you with is fees for different things. So, for example, business school, the business school classes, you have to pay, I think, a $60 fee per credit hour you take, but it depends like per which college you take. So, for example, the College of Engineering charges a lot more. I think theirs at the University of Missouri was like $120 per credit hour. So that means you're adding that on top of the $380 tuition fee that's like the standard for that class plus the fee.
Alright, so next we have financial aid opportunities. Financial aid opportunities at St. Louis Community College are pretty tough, but they do have the main scholarship that a lot of kids do in St. Louis, which is called the A+ program. We might get into that in another episode, but it gives 2 years of free community college to students that do it. So, but the financial aid opportunities beyond that, if you don't go there, are pretty limited. They're pretty selective with it, and it really only applies to maybe like 10% of kids, that if that. Like, it's very tough to get. You have to come from, they don't like do scholarships, you have to be pretty low income other than that, but you can get like scholarships from like certain programs and departments at the school.
So financial aid at both the community university and the University of Missouri, the go-away university, are pretty similar in that they both use FAFSA, and you apply through FAFSA. And actually, I didn't realize this until after transferring from UMSL to the University of Missouri, that a lot of your FAFSA varies on the cost of attendance per school. So you might get certain federal grants at each school individually. So there were certain federal grants that I got at University of Missouri St. Louis that I didn't get at Mizzou, and there were certain ones I got at Mizzou that weren't available at the University of Missouri St. Louis. So a recommendation for that is any school that you're interested in applying to, when you're filling out your FAFSA, you want to send it to all of them, because there are different things that you'll get based on the cost of attendance at each school that you will not get at other schools.
Admission rate at community college, it's about 100%.
Admission rate at the University of Missouri is a little bit lower than the University of Missouri St. Louis because of the fact that it's like a big school. They tend to get a lot of applicants because it is like a big name school, where based on that it's like in the news a lot, and so a lot of people tend to apply there versus the University of St. Louis, which is a community school, because it's not as probably well known nationally, and it's not, a lot of times people who are applying there are from the St. Louis area versus the University of Missouri. There's a lot of times people who are coming from all over the country and coming to Mizzou. At the University of Missouri and UMSL, they look at your ACT score and your GPA. The state of Missouri usually uses your ACT score, and that's like most of the central U.S. Usually the West Coast and the East Coast use SAT scores, but in Missouri they use ACT scores. So almost any university you apply to will look at those scores and your GPA. So those are like the standard at schools, no matter what university you apply to. And then in addition, they'll want to know what extracurriculars that you're involved in, and then some schools and some like scholarships or programs will require additional essays and letters of recommendation.
So admissions criteria, they also use your ACT. Depending on your score in certain subjects like English or math or anything like that, can inhibit your ability to take that class in community college.
The University of Missouri has a little bit of a higher graduation rate because I think that we'll talk in a little bit later is about connection with students. Because of like campus involvement, it's easier for people to feel connected to the school and then have a further desire to graduate. While at the University of Missouri St. Louis, there is that little bit of a disconnect between the campus and students. So I think that's why there is a little bit lower graduation rate, but there is a higher graduation rate at a go-away university versus a community university.
So the ultimate goal of everyone that goes to community college is that, not everyone, but to transfer to a school, another university. So pretty much anyone, when the opportunity arises to get into another school and to transfer, they take it.
A community university and a go-away university have pretty similar scheduling options. They like classes at university pretty much go from 8 a.m. till like 8 p.m. So you have a lot of different scheduling options. I think in general for a community university, you tend to block your schedules a lot more because you don't want to like stay at university the entire time. So when I attended a community university, they scheduled me a lot of times in one block. So you went from like class to class to class because a lot of times when I drive there to attend class, I want to take my classes and then leave. That's like a typical thing. You don't like, you might go to professor's office hours like right after class, but you don't like sit there.
So at community college is pretty similar to the community university. You're gonna usually be living at home still or in an apartment. There is no on-campus living, so you're gonna want to block your classes pretty much back to back to back, or else you're gonna be stuck on campus.
And that's all we have for you today. So
make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and find us on Patreon on the link below.
and Latin high five.